Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be covering another prime asset within the Outlast trials. It's the newest prime asset. It's the one, the only, the mannequin that can blend in with her surroundings and also can hide into any hiding spot compared to any other prime asset that we have within the Outlast trials. So with no further ado, let's welcome Ms. Liliya Bogomolova. I don't know why, but I thought that her first name would have me sounding like Patrick in that episode of SpongeBob. But no, it was actually the last name that I was kind of struggling with. But I still feel like I pronounced it wrong, and if I did, my apologies to anybody in the real world that does have this last name. And also apologize to her as well, because she already beating me up in the Outlast trials to begin with, so I don't need no more further punishment from her. But if you enjoy my videos, today I'll be covering her physical appearance, her personality within the trials, of course the background story with the comics included, and finishing the video off with some random trivia regarding Miss Liliya. If my content interests you, stick around as we're going to dive into who exactly is Miss Liliya within the Outlast trial.
I shall deliver your punishment.
Suckers, you think you can break me like that? With an animal carcass?
Is that you, Sweet Pea? You should have thrown down this bounty, Talos.
I'll see you soon.
Starting this video off with her physical appearance, she is a young Slavic woman with black medium long hair and pale skin. This is all included in the Murkoff collections, which I will be putting in pictures of the comics when I talk about her backstory. However, she is missing her right forearm because it was cut off by a Nazi officer. They also cut out her tongue, allegedly. With all of that being said, when you do see her in the trials, her deformities are not as easily noticeable compared to the other X-Pops and other prime assets, like her facial scarring, her tongue, and her missing right arm are not visible because her body is covered with dark skin-tight clothing, jewelry like a pearl necklace. She has gold chains with rubies on them, and plus she's also in the mannequin suit. However, she does wear a one-piece corset with patterned tights underneath it and matching thigh-high stockings. She wears long black gloves on her left arm that reaches her shoulders, and her upper body includes her breasts being exposed, and her skin has been painted in gold to help her blend in with her mannequins. Now, first glance, when you do see her, it's kind of difficult to tell which direction she is facing because she has a face on both sides of her head. She wears a mask where on the back of her head, the mask has a golden face of a smiling woman, and on the other side, her real face is covered by the mask, but it's made of dark, tight wrappings around her head, a gold ruby emblem covering her right eye, and also golden teeth that is clenched over her mouth. Additionally, she also has a spiked halo crown over her head that is decorated with black flowers on the side. With all of that being said, when it comes to her signature weapon for the reagent, a retractable bayonet style blade. The second weapon that she has is razor sharp talon-like claws, which she has those over her left hand. She uses it whenever she gets a hold of a reagent, where she will start slashing them. Now let's dive into her personality within the trials. Now, she is different than the other prime assets like Otto and Aurora, Franco, Coil, Mother Gooseberry, even Henrietta, because this is the only prime asset where she can actually hide and patiently wait to attack the reagents. Very similar to the Pouncer, Liliya is a very calculated, stealthy, precise, and quiet prime asset. She even has her mannequins to help her blend in with her surroundings, so you will never know where she is whenever you turn your back. Now, you may be able to notice her through hissing, crackling, or maybe a delay echo effect in her voice. However, that doesn't really matter, because if she's hiding or if she's blending in, you won't be able to find her. Now, with her, she is a little bit different, as I mentioned, to the other prime assets, but also compared to the pursuing X-Pops as well, with her actions being quieter, precise, and more careful, as I mentioned earlier. Now, with all that being said, when it comes to her losing a target, she will either retreat in a hiding spot, which is very similar to the Pouncer, or she will attack anyone else that is nearby. Now, if she's at the resort with the mannequins, of course, she will just blend in with the mannequins, or she will either retreat back to the gates if there's no reagents nearby. Now, don't think there's not a way for you to find out if she is hiding amongst the mannequins in the same area. The best way to kind of see if it is her is glowing eyes, lead eyes. You can also look for any of the mannequins maybe slightly moving, or notice an extra mannequin in the same area. So for example, let's say that you're in a room that typically has 5 mannequins. You go back in that same room to retrieve one of the key items you need to finish the trial, and you notice there's now 6. You don't know which one she is, but you know that she's in the room because there's one extra mannequin in the room.
Together, we Egregor.
Now we're going to dive into the backstory of Liliya, which I find her backstory very interesting. So starting off, she was born to Russian landowners, which eventually they was exiled during the revolution. However, with her mother, apparently her mother was abusive. She starved her and locked her in a homemade prison before she mysteriously passed away. Now, Red Barrels, you cannot keep doing this. I would love to know, like, what do you mean she mysteriously died? Like, give us some more context, because there's no way that all of that happened and then she mysteriously died. But I digress. Fast forward, she was taken to St. Gaspar orphanage, where she behaved in a feral manner and she was grunting like an animal. During her time there, she learned how to speak quite quickly, and she was following with the other orphans. Eventually, in her teenage life, she got obsessed with the Bible and was guided by the voice of God, and this caused her to return to her homeland and defend her homeland. Her homeland was Leningrad, and during the siege of Leningrad, she survived for 3 years, disappeared in the shadows under frozen corpses, and she said that she was protected by God as long as she was doing his work. Now we're going to dive into the origin stories of her physical appearance. So after Germany was retreating from Leningrad, she was captured by a Nazi officer. While he was trying to restrain her, she cut him in the face, and his punishment for that to her was to cut off her hand. And I believe this is where her right forearm is missing, is a result of this. So of course she cursed at him, and his punishment for that was to cut out her tongue, which I've mentioned that earlier in the physical appearance about her tongue being cut out as well. Now, within the comics, when they're discussing about her background story, George Nichols kind of implies that she may have been tortured or sexually assaulted on their way to the Mediterranean. Now, fast forward, before she was dragged onto the boat to Argentina, she prayed in Genoa, and she gained the miracle of her tongue growing back, and she had this newfound ability to speak with the tongue of God. So, with that being said, she ended up convincing the other bodyguards and the staff to hold down the man from earlier while she cut off his foot. She then walked out of Genoa and into the forests of Eastern Europe, where she said she had lost years. Years passed, and eventually fortunes began vanishing. And as vanishing, I mean wealthy and funded people would eventually just spend all of their money, and then they would disappear. And then after they disappear, their corpses will be mutilated and will resurface later on. So George Nichols goes to investigate the disappearances. We don't have Mr. Perry at this point, and I will get into the reason why we don't have Mr. Perry handling this. So Mr. Nichols, he goes and starts searching the estates and the crime scenes, and eventually he found her. He found Liliya, and after listening to her, Mr. Nichols just decides to cut off his arms, legs, and mutilated a portion of his face. Then, after he did that, she allowed him to bring her in to Mount Massive Asylum. So, just like the Pouncer, we also have Liliya, that's also another inmate from Mount Massive Asylum. Now, with all of that being said, I know I touched a little bit about Mr. Perry. The reason why he's not included in this is because they organized her transfer to the facility in 1960s. And from my understanding with the Outlast timeline, Perry died the same year. And I want to say it was because of something that Amelia did. I will have to go back and double check to make sure. But I'm pretty sure he died within the same year when all of this was happening. So he was not the one to actually bring her on aboard to the facility to be used as a prime asset within the Outlast trials. Now, dialing it back a little bit to talk about her experience within Mount Massive Asylum. So she was there for not even 6 months, and she was already having former staff to become patients. She had former staff of Mount Massive Asylum to become patients because they ended up cutting out their tongues after telling her stories. And then after that, after the 6 months mark, eventually she caused them to lose nearly 20% of their budget and 10% of their staff members due to self-mutilation, suicide, and blades she kept hidden from ones that did not fall for her manipulation.
This will be the secret of Mellogamingsbusiness.
If you made it this far in the video, of course I have some trivia regarding the prime asset Liliya. So the first piece of trivia that we have for her is that she is the first prime asset to use hiding spots. The only other antagonist within Outlast that can use hiding spots is the X-Pops, the Pouncer. Now, she is the only she's the only prime asset who does not appear in the solo rebirth. However, she's also the only prime asset that does not have any primetime dialogue. On top of that, herself and Otto and Aurora are the only prime assets who do not have special dialogue about them from the reagents, and also the first 3 prime assets, so Coil, Mother Gooseberry, and Franco. They don't have special dialogue with them at all. She's also the only prime asset where when she attacks you, it doesn't have a lasting effect on the reagents. So for example, you have Coil, and if he hits you, it disables your rigs. Or you have Mother Gooseberry, where if she catches you, it has the bleeding effect. We also have Aurora, where she throws the chemicals at you, where the reagent will have to stop and throw up. However, with Liliya, her main goal is to basically put these reagents in submission and to basically force you to fight her off. Whether that is you having a brick or possibly a bottle to have her get off of you a lot quicker compared to mashing down the button and hoping and praying that she gets off and don't kill you. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching my content. If you enjoyed my video, give me a huge thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I have a playlist of all of the Outlast antagonists that I've covered so far. So if you would like to check that out, it'll be linked at the very end of this video. Comment down below your favorite antagonist within the Outlast universe. Oh, and by the way, comment down below if you'd like for me to do a summary of just the comics within the Outlast universe. And if you are currently playing the Outlast trials, good luck on your therapy, and I'll see you next time.
This is a little extra.